Hi, I'm Prof C. I teach human development classes. I talk about families and child development. However, today I'm going to teach you how to cook. Not only am I going to teach you how to cook, I'm going to teach you how to cook two really delicious dishes. One is going to be Chinese chow mein with crispy noodles, which tastes really great with a variety of vegetables and proteins and shrimp. The second dish, rice dish with nice toppings on top. Stay tuned to the end of this lesson to see if my dishes are really delicious worthy. And how are we going to judge? We're going to ask my daddy. My daddy will taste both dishes. He's going to give his honest opinion. Does he love my dishes? Also, I'm going to teach you how to not offend the rice and offend those around you. You must be asking yourself, is there a proper way of scooping rice? It's just rice. Oh no. My dad has taught me since I was little, there is a proper way of scooping rice so you don't offend anybody and you respect the rice. It's all good. So let's begin. For my chow mein, I'm going to have orange pepper, which is actually very sweet and looks fantastic in the dish. I also have some white mushrooms, a little bit brownish, but that's okay. They still taste great. And then greens. So Chinese vegetable for this, and as well as I'm going to use napa. All right, light yellow, green, orange, white, and brown. And also to just take it up a notch, I'm going to use Chinese red sausage. Chinese red sausage is key for this ingredient. It really makes everything taste extra delicious. So why not? And then for the second dish that I'm going to show you for the rice, we're going to do eggplant, which is really nice. Chinese eggplant, sweeter than the fat ones. I'll put a little bit of also red Chinese sausage. What we're going to add is tiger shrimp. Now, it's not just any kind of shrimp. It has to be tiger shrimp because what you'll see is they're bigger and they're more black. And it doesn't matter so much of the brand name, but it has to say tiger shrimp. And it has to be shelled because you want to take off the shells. You want to pull right at the edge. All right. And then you want to make sure rather than pulling this all the way off, it will pull part of the tail and you'll lose some of that precious shrimp. We want all your shrimp. So what you do is you have to pull at the very edge here and just gently try to pull it. Sometimes it won't work, but oh, this time it does. See, we got that extra little bit of shrimp. Yes, we want all of it. And then pull it all back. And there we go. Now, when we're going to be deciding how we're going to cut up these vegetables, you have to think to yourself, what are we making today? So today we're going to be making chow mein. Chow mein, the way I'm going to teach you, is going to have nice crispy noodles at the bottom, and then we're going to pour the sauces on the top. All right, so because we're pouring it on the top, it's the first thing that people are going to see. So we don't want thin little pieces of vegetables because then it looks kind of cheapy. And that's okay for sweet potato noodles, which I taught you how to make the last time. But for this time, we want it to look great with big pieces as well as tasty. So we're going to use our orange pepper, and we'll cut that a little bit thick. And then also with these stems, we want to cut a little bit thicker to maybe like this. Okay, to about this thick. All right, so we can actually see it. For the rice, we're going to be using Chinese eggplant. And what we usually do is we cut off the top, but we also peel it. Some people don't peel, but we just like to peel it anyway. So it's up to you. All right, but the whole thing is not going to, unfortunately, it won't stay purple. It'll just turn all brown. And for us, it's a little bit on the tough side. So it's just better to remove the skin. For the Chinese red sausage, we want thin slices. And the reason for the thin slices is that it will cook faster, but also we want to cook out the oils, right? So we don't want it too fatty. And the oils we're going to use to help flavor everything else in the pot. Once you start chopping up your vegetables, you're going to want a plate, something about this big, because I'm going to have lots of vegetables here so that it's going to be a lot easier when I start cooking. I can just push them off one by one. All right. And so also you can see all the ones you're cooking so you don't forget any ingredients. Remember what we talked about last time. When you cook vegetables that have a thick stem and that are leafy at the top, stemmy at the bottom, we want to cook the stem parts a little bit longer than the leaves. So what we want to do is put these stems together as we put them on our plate and then put the leaves together so that these two parts can cook together, right? And then these will join the party afterwards. Okay, so let's start cutting. Remember when you start cutting, you can actually round and tuck in your vegetables just so that's just easier to control. And then remember, cut like this. Don't cut your fingers this way, tuck your fingers in. So start practicing. At the beginning, you might be a little bit slow, but that's okay. After a while, you'll get used to it and you cut faster and faster. Now remember, we don't want it too thick, all right, because this is for noodles. If you're just gonna have it for stir fry, you may want it a little bit thicker. So all we have to do is put our knife underneath, pick up these stems and put it in one spot, okay? And then we're gonna put the leaves right beside it. Do the same thing for this other green kind of vegetable. Okay, stack them well so they don't get a little bit too slippery. All right, and then go ahead and cut. Okay, put the stems together, or the bottom parts together, and then the leaves together. Don't worry about using too much vegetable because it does shrink a lot, and vegetables are really good for you. For the orange peppers, we don't want the seeds, so just pull that out. Okay, cut this down the middle. And what I find actually is you want to take the seeds out. And what I find is easier to cut is from the inside. This way it's a little bit on the slippery and the skin here is a little bit harder. So it's just easier and faster just to go like this. And now I'm going to put that on another side, but it's going to cook about the same time as my leaf. So I'll put it side by side. Remember, when you cut mushrooms, you got to be careful that they don't roll around as you're cutting because that's actually a bit dangerous. So what you should do is cut sideways, cut one part, and then this becomes flat and it's a lot more steady. See? Doesn't really move as much. And then go ahead and cut. Now, if I was cooking for a party, I actually wouldn't cut it like that, and I would actually take my time and try to cut each one because it looks a little bit bad. Because again, look, it looks like you cheaped out on your mushrooms, okay? Because there's a corner missing. But since I'm cooking for my dad, and we don't mind what it looks like, we care more about what it tastes like. So I'm cutting my mushrooms a little bit on the thicker side as well, okay? But it's up to you, and mushrooms cook really fast. Now, as you can see, this is for my chow mein. It's very beautiful, lots of different flavors, and all these flavors will all come together and give you a really great noodles. Next, we're also going to use garlic. Every time we use oil, we always use garlic. So make sure you cut off the ends and chop them up. We're going to be using it for both dishes, so make sure that you do enough for both. For the chow mein, these are going to be egg noodles. See, they're nice and thin, okay? And there's my daddy in the back, okay? He's getting the noodles for me. Thank you, Daddy. This is actually stored in the refrigerator section of a Chinese store, of an Asian store. So go find it, and it looks like this. Some noodles come pre-cooked, and I think these ones are pre-cooked, but because they're coming from a package, I don't think I would like to just cook them right away. What I like to do is use boiling water, cook it for a couple of minutes, and then just take it out. And that way you know that it's actually clean and actually fresh. Okay, so this little batch was actually already cooked yesterday, and now it was in the fridge, and now it's a little bit clumpy. But we don't want this all clumped together, so what we're going to do is just separate it and loosen them up. Okay, give everybody some space. Everybody needs space. All right, you want to be together, but not this close. All right, so we just loosen that up so we can get it ready for our pan. So when we cook it and crisp it up, it's going to be very crunchy and not clumpy and all dense. So now let me show you a couple of things about the shrimp. First of all, once you deshell it, you need to rinse it with water and then get all the water out. And once you do that, you can be very luxurious. If you're being very luxurious, no problem. I'll show you how to marinate it, and you're not even going to cut up your shrimp, and you have big, big pieces of shrimp. That's great. However, I would rather cut up the shrimp into smaller pieces, and that way every bite can have a little something. But which way would you cut? Say you're having company over and you don't want to look too cinchy. That's okay then. You don't cut in little pieces because maybe they don't even realize they're eating shrimp. What you do is cut them down the middle. But when you cut them down the middle, it's actually thinner and it looks like you can actually see that these are shrimp. All right. What I also do is I cut them one more time. But maybe if you're having company, keep them in halves. Usually when I use a protein or a seafood, I like to make the marinade first. And then as I make the marinade and it's done, then as I'm cutting the shrimps, I can actually put it in the marinade. For shrimp, and specifically, I always use seasoned salt as my go-to. All right, and then I might put a splash of sesame oil But what's really critical, and to make sure that the juices stay inside the shrimp and not run away, okay, we're going to use tapioca. Okay, so because if you see I have like a bowl of shrimp here, I'm feeling about a spoonful, and it's not that big of a spoon, and a little bit, all right? Then I'm going to put a couple of seasoned salt is actually very salty, so be careful. So maybe like a pinch, like this much of a pinch, and a touch more. Okay, we just want a little bit of salt. Okay, all right. And then I always like to have some fresh pepper. This is a terrible pepper shaker. I've got to get a new one, but it's actually really good for exercise. Okay, so pumping the arms. Okay, and then I love garlic powder. So this is granulated garlic powder, and so I like to put some of that. Then I'm going to put a little splash of sesame oil. Okay, just a little touch. Yep, that's good enough for me. All right, and then because we have a lot of dry ingredients, we need to put a little bit of water, but just enough so that it can be marinated together. So I have some filtered water. Just put a splash just to get it so I can blend it together. All right, so I need my spoon. All right, and then mix it together, and that's it. Every time you do seafood, every time you do protein, please don't forget your tapioca starch. It is key. It will keep everything all moist. All right, there we go. Good enough. All right, now what I can do is put this down, and then every time I cut my shrimps, which I cut in half, I'm just going to drop them in. What's always great to save a little bit of time is actually, if you're going to peel anything, open up your garbage can and peel straight in. If you're only going to have the dish, when I actually make the eggplant dish for my dad and myself, we usually gauge it this way, 1 per person. And that's how much you should have, or 1.5, okay? And so don't start cutting this way because we want it to cook fast. So what we do is we'll cut down the middle, all right? And then we'll chop in slices. Because this dish is going to be over top rice, okay? We're gonna want thin pieces because it's going to be a nice sauce stew on top of our rice. Now that we have everything prepared, we chopped up all our vegetables, we have our shrimp ready to go, we've got our noodles, and we also have our rice that's already been steamed up and cooked. We are ready to cook. I will meet you at my stove. See you soon. Hi, now we're back. My daddy's making funny faces. All right, so we're now back at our stove and we're going to be cooking now. Before you start cooking anything, what's really important is that you have a glass of water. This is my little brother's child, his firstborn named Claudia. It's a very cute cup that he gave us. All right, but make sure you have a cup of water. We're going to be thinking, how do we build the flavors of our chow mein? And what we're going to do is we have to think, okay, who's going to be cooked first? Then who's going to be second? What flavors can complement each other? And we want to try to keep all our flavors in this pot. We don't want separate pots because then you're separating the flavors and we're not taking advantage of that. All right, so what I'm going to do is every time we do oil, we always put garlic. So the garlic will flavor our oil. We'll pull out the garlic, and usually when we have onions, we'll pull out the onions as well. We try to keep the oils in. Then we will put in our protein. What we have today is shrimp, delicious shrimp, and we'll cook that first, and then all those flavors from the shrimp, when we pull that out, will be still in the pot, and then we're going to put our wonderful vegetables. So the vegetables are going to soak up all that delicious flavor and make the vegetables taste even better. Okay, so my daddy just brought over all my toppings, so bring your toppings, bring all your ingredients, bring it close to the stove, and we're now going to start. Thank you, Daddy. As we're getting our garlic cooking, and I have a healthy scoop of oil because we're using the garlic to flavor our oil. So I'm not adding any more oil because the oil is still there. Now, remember, I'm showing you how to cook 2 dishes. So I will split this in 2, and just for demonstrations, and then I will then add in my shrimp. So you can see that the pot is smoking a little bit. All right, and then I'm just going to add in my shrimp. All right. The great thing about shrimp is that it cooks very fast and it's very clear when it's done because it will turn a nice pink. So as spread it around. Everybody needs some room. All right, spread it around. Okay. See, as you can see, cutting it in half actually looks pretty nice. Yes, you cut it in half, but can you really tell? Not really. And it still looks great. So we just want to quickly stir that around, all right? And try to flip some that are on the other side to kind of get them cooked. If you notice that the outside is cooking too fast and then the middle of the shrimp is not, what you can do is add a splash of water. Now, when you add a splash of water, you'll see a huge steam pluck, but it will help it cook faster and keep things even more tender. See, look at that cook. Oh, yeah. All right, see, now that is done. When you're cooking and pulling stuff out, you don't want it cooked to 100% because we're going to be putting it all together again. So I'm thinking about 90% done, pull it out. All right, we're going to add just a touch of a little bit more oil, all right, just so nothing burns. And you can just see and can smell all the wonderful flavors of the shrimp, and it's still in there. Now I'm cooking the chow mein first. So remember, the stems cook first. So my stems are here, and I'll cook that first. Celery also would cook first with this. All right, stir that around a bit. All right, you can just see that the pot is now dry because the vegetable actually has soaked up all the oil, but that's okay. That's why you need your cup of water, and we add just a little bit of water, okay, just to make sure nothing burns at the bottom. So what you're also going to add is actually a little bit of salt, a pinch of my beautiful pink salt, Himalayan salt. All right, spread that around. We use accent, so you don't really necessarily need that. All right. Daddy, can you pass me some wooden chopsticks, please? Now, the best way to stir fry everything, wooden chopsticks, please, is wooden chopsticks. So rather than going back and forth, it's a lot easier thank you, Daddy, if we use wooden chopsticks. Like that. Isn't that so much easier? All right. Now, you can see that it has already turned a little bit translucent. It's turned color. Then that's a great invitation for the leaves, the green peppers, the orange peppers, and the mushrooms. If I can get them all. All right. Doesn't that look fantastic already? All right, so we want to add maybe just a little bit more water just to get it going. All right. Remember, this is going to be poured on top of our chow mein. So it's going to be all soupy in the end, okay? But we just want to stir that up. You can also cover it. So if you cover this and wait a few minutes, it'll cook a bit faster. All right, so let's cover it. Okay, I think that's good enough. Yes. So it looks cooked, just about cooked. It looks cooked, so about 90%, that's fine. All right, so now we're going to bring this to the bowl that has all the other ingredients. So that is looking very delicious and it smells fantastic. Now we're going to be cooking Chinese sausage. Now with Chinese sausage though, I do want to wipe this down, all right, because I want a clean pot. So what I'm going to do is, what you do is just turn off your heat, quickly go to your stove, turn it on hot water, and quickly wash it out and come back. If you have a little bit of oil, a little bit of water in your pot, you might want to just quickly wipe that because we're actually going to now be cooking our Chinese sausage and the oils are going to be coming out, and oil and water don't get along, constant conflict. Okay, so what you'll notice with Chinese sausage is that you'll sit and wait and it's on high, you're waiting and waiting for it to cook. But there's a certain point where it actually starts cooking very fast. So then make sure you turn down your heat to a medium, otherwise it burns too quickly and it'll turn black. Now, I had forgotten to cook this earlier, so I should have cooked this after the garlic. That way I wouldn't have to have washed my pot. But I didn't see it and buried under all my wonderful vegetables, but that's okay. You're going to want to stir this once in a while just to make sure that it evenly cooks and that no side gets overcooked. But even if it gets a little bit black and you burn it a little bit, this is not a problem. It still tastes delicious. As we're waiting for this to cook up, What we need to do is we now need to start thinking about the last step, the sauce, right? So as you can see, we already have nice soup from all the vegetables and the shrimps that came in. So what we're going to do now is add our abalone scallop sauce or oyster sauce, whatever you have, or any other sauce that you want. We also had salt in here, so we don't want to put too much of this. We only need probably a spoon to a spoonful and a half, depending on how much you've cooked. So shaky a little bit, shaky, ooh, that's about enough. Good. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take away. All right, so we're gonna stir this around a little bit. All right, it's smelling fantastic. And also you should just pull a piece and just eat it straight, ready to go. And sometimes if a lot of oil comes out, that's okay. Just scoop it out and put it in a bowl and use it for another time. It's fantastic. All right, so we're going to put everything in. All right, mix it all up. Put everybody together. Everybody meet everybody. Everybody getting along. This is fantastic. Okay. Now, because we know that this is going to be put on top of our noodles, all right, we're going to have to build our sauce. But look at our sauce. It's completely runny. That's ridiculous. But how are we going to thicken it up? The secret is tapioca starch. All right, so let's just turn that off for a sec. Pull it off your stove, okay? And let me show you how you get the sauce ready. We're going to reuse this bowl because we don't want to wash more dishes. Then we're going to put a scoop of tapioca. How much? Okay, give it to me, Nelly. My dad wants to make sure that you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Daddy. He pulled out the tapioca starch. This we use practically every day for a lot of dishes. Okay, but how much do you use? Actually, not that much. Remember, we're only thickening our sauce. So we need to take 1 scoop. That might be enough, or a little bit more. That's okay. But the key thing is to actually dissolve it. Okay, but don't put too much water. Just put water in here, okay? And then you just use your finger and stir. You can use a spoon, but I prefer just to use my finger. It's all good. Okay, I'll wash my hands. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a little bit of hole and then just pour this in. Okay, all right, and then just mix it around. And then you'll see that it's gonna get a little bit thick, and if it's too thick, you put some water. Now, stir it quickly. Okay, stir it quickly and then just make sure, and then just go like that and make sure that the sauce and the tapioca is in there. All right. Now you can see that I put a little bit too much tapioca, and actually everything is a bit gooey, right? Look at this. It's a little bit gooey, but we want it to have more of a saucy like, okay? But we want it a bit thick, so I just add just a little bit more water. And it's going to make your noodles taste so good. And now I'm going to show you how to crisp up our noodles. Now, because we want crispy noodles, the trick is actually oil. All right, so we do have to put quite a bit of oil. All right, but trust me, it's worth it. And actually, it may look like a lot of oil, but actually it's not that much oil, so don't worry, okay? So make sure that the oil is spread all over, okay, and we wait for it to get hot. Now, let's double check and make sure my noodles are nice and loose. Okay, so there we go. See, nice and loose, because then that way the heat can get through, the oils can get through and start crisping up every piece. And what you'll notice is the end parts, the edges of the noodles that won't actually get hit by the toppings is actually going to be the best part because it's nice and crunchy. As you're waiting for your pot to get hot, you can always test it by just taking a little piece and dropping it in and seeing how it goes. But do you see how they just got crispy? All right, and it's puffed up, that's crispy. So now what we're going to do, be careful how you drop it. It might splatter a little bit, but put it down and then cover up your surface area of your pot. Okay, so we want all of it because we waste nothing. Okay. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to spread it and cover up the holes a little bit because we want it to look nice. All right, but we don't want it too thick. All right, and now the key is patience. Patience is a virtue. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. So we have to just wait for it to crisp up. And when you'll start to see the noodles, and sometimes you'll start to see it browning. Okay, and you can always just pick it up and lift it up. But if you pick it up and it's like falling apart, it's soft. That means it's not ready yet. Once in a while, take a little peeky. Okay, but you can actually feel, if you go like this, you can actually tell if it's hard on the bottom. So if you think that it's ready to go, you can then try your best to try to flip it. All right. That's okay if you can't do it in one piece because it's still soft, but just turn it over. If you turn it over, or at least do your best to turn it over, try to get the other noodles to have a turn. Everybody wants a turn to get a little bit of heat, and then you can see it's already turning a nice golden brown. If you notice that it might need just a little bit more oil, the key would be to take a little bit of oil and just kind of run it along the sides and let it get to all the edges. And then that way, whoops, that way the oil can go all over. So you can just turn it around like this so the oil can cook up the edges of the noodles, right? And so that it becomes crispy. Now what you need is to get a nice dish that has a little bit of a rim, because don't forget we're going to be putting the sauces on top. So here we go. We get our plate, and then let's see how that works out. Okay, so we put that down. All right. And then because our toppings was off the stove, because I didn't want to continue cooking while I was cooking my noodles, you can always turn that back on. All right, and then you can warm it up. Actually, it's pretty hot. I can see a lot of steam, so I think that's good enough. Okay, but you can hear it boiling. You can just double check and make sure. A couple of seconds is worth it because you want it nice and hot. And then scoop and put it on top. All right, now the moment of truth. So you pour that on top. Look how delicious that is. I have too much toppings, and we could put that on rice because we do have rice, because that's also another nice rice dish right there. Okay, so moment of truth. Does it taste good or not? I don't know. Let's bring in the judge. My daddy. Daddy, can you come and please taste my noodles? Thank you, Daddy. Okay, here comes my dad to try the noodles. Any comments on the looks, Daddy?
What? The seems good. Good.
Delicious, Daddy?
Yes.
You love it?
I love it.
Okay, thank you, Daddy. My daddy's so cute. All right, so look at that dish.
Good shrimps.
My dad said good shrimps. Did you hear that? I tell ya, shrimp is key. All right, look how beautiful that is. Now, similar idea, I showed you how to cook another dish. Okay, so let's go again. First, we're going to be putting in our garlic. Okay, thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. Okay, as that's getting nice and crispy, not crispy, golden, we push that to the side a little bit, and then we put in our Chinese red sausage. All right. Okay, so when you push it to the side, you'll see that it's not as hot. All right, we push it up, okay, because we're going to want to have our Chinese sausage oils come out. Okay, so then they can all be together soon. So right now, they're on the sides, looking in. I don't want to put too much red sausage in this dish because the star of the show is actually my shrimps. Okay, so I don't want too much sausage that it overpowers the flavors of my shrimp. Then you're using shrimp for no reason. Now we're going to pull out the sausage, and then we're going to pull out the garlic. Okay, there's still a little bit of oil in there, so we want to just drain it. You can see the oil's running. All right, and we just pull it out, pull it back. Okay, that should be enough oil for my shrimp. So we just give it like a second to kind of heat up again, because I want my shrimp to in the pot, all right, nice and hot. I don't want it to slowly cook, because then you're overcooking your shrimp. Shrimp is one of the fastest things you can cook, and it's one of the most delicious. Again, look how beautiful my shrimp look. I cut them in half, and sometimes they also start getting curly and looking kind of fancy. All right, now my pot's really hot, and then so I want to cook this much faster, because the faster you can cook the shrimp, the faster you can cook the protein, the more tender it is. So what I'm going to do is, and again, a splash of steam, so it has a poof of steam. There we go. There we go. Look at that. All right. So quickly stir that. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Stir that. It's a little bit splattery. Okay. And look how fast my shrimp is. Now my shrimp is actually cooked, just like the last time. Here we go. It comes out. All right. We're almost done for the second dish. All we have to do is just scoop a little, just a touch more oil. Move that around. All right, and then who are we adding? Eggplant. Yay, eggplant. Eggplant is very delicious. All right, so I want to first make sure that my eggplant soaks up all the delicious oils, okay, before I add water. Otherwise, you dilute everything. And where's that sauce deliciousness going? All right, so usually we have 2 or 3 eggplants, so this would be much bigger. Okay, and then we're going to add water. Now, for this rice dish, we're going to add quite a bit of water. So now we're going to add a little bit more water. So we'll probably, in total, probably put like a half a cup of water. And make sure everybody's buried underneath, though everybody loves to swim. Okay, so make sure that nothing's on top of each other. Everybody has equal time. Okay, and then this is where we're also going to be adding now all our sauces and all our spices. So we've got a touch of pink salt, like that. Not too much, remember, because the abalone sauce or the oyster sauce has a lot of salt. We actually like a pinch of, MSG. Okay, we call that accent or abalone sauce, which is quite delicious. Okay, this time we're not going to put too much, okay, because there's not that much in my pot. So shake it, shake it, shake it. Okay, that's enough. All right, and then I also like to put some pepper. Daddy, my pepper's over there. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, usually we actually cover the eggplant because we want it all soft. Okay, and because it's already boiling now, let's save electricity. Okay, because putting it down on a 4 is the same thing. Having it on super hot and it's boiling is boiling. All right, so we just turn it down a little bit. Okay, you might want to add a little bit of more water because we don't want it to burn. And then we're going to put a lid on it. Thank you, Daddy. Okay, so we wait for it to boil and cook. And the way you can tell if the eggplant is all cooked, it'll turn all brown and it's all kind of mushy. Now your eyes might say, ooh, that doesn't look delicious. Trust me, it's delicious. So close your eyes and then just eat like this. And when you put it with shrimp, it's like, wow. Okay, but you don't necessarily have to put it with shrimp. You could put a little bit of protein. And this kind of a dish, okay, you don't need a lot of protein in this, but you just need that for the flavoring. And you see it makes quite a bit of difference. Another way, if you really want to heighten up the flavors, and it's almost kind of like cheating, is do what I did. I actually put some red Chinese sausage. If you don't have Chinese sausage, that's okay. Because if you have a little bit of piece of like sausage of any kind, Polish sausage, other sausages, I don't know what other sausages would be, even if you cut like a quarter worth of it and you stir fry that in, it's amazing. Okay, so try that out. Experiment. Be open-minded. Okay, let's take a look. See, now you can see that everything is kind of translucent, but still a little bit wet, white. That means, but see the difference between this one here? This looks a little bit softish, and this is still white. So these are still white, all right? So we want that to be fully, quite cooked, because when we add in our other flavors, we're going to be adding in our shrimp and our Chinese sausage. We don't want to overcook our shrimp, okay? So we don't want that sitting in this while the eggplant is getting cooked, because then you just, you offended your shrimp. Okay, now I think it's ready, and to bring everybody together. So one big happy family. We've got the eggplant, that's looking nice. Okay, then what we do is we put in our Chinese sausage. We've got our shrimp. Look how nice that really looks. How are we going to thicken up the sauce? What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of tapioca. All right, we're going to put some water, and just enough water to dissolve it. Okay, so just take a spoon, okay, and mix that up. All right, make sure it's not clumpy. And then pour it in. All right, there you go. So as you're pouring it in, it will thicken up. All right, and as it thickens up, it's like, okay, too much tapioca, but that's okay. All I have to do is just add a little bit more water. All right, and as I'm adding water and I'm turning it on high heat, it's now ready to go. You can see it's a little bit thick, so I'll just make it a little bit more thicker. Okay, and then our sauce is ready. See, our sauce is ready. Turn that off. Call everybody to the table because you want to eat together, spend time together. That is key for families. Now, let me show you one more thing before we go. The rice is in the rice cooker, okay? But let me show you the proper way of how to scoop rice. You're thinking, proper way to scoop rice? Yes, because you don't want to offend people. And my dad actually says it's disrespectful. Okay, so we want to be respectful to other people. All right, so come with me to my rice cooker and let me show you how to properly scoop out your rice. Okay, so here is our rice. My daddy is so lovely. He just cooked me a fresh batch of rice so I can do this demo. All right, so this is about 1 cup, a cup and a half of rice. It's about equal portions of water to rice. Now, you're thinking, how would you scoop this rice out? If I gave you the spatula, I said, go ahead, get yourself some rice. people go like this, and they scoop inside, and then they go like that, okay? And then that's their rice. But that's fine. Your rice is looking most lovely. But how about the next person coming in? What kind of rice is this? All cut and like this, and it's all like jammed up like that. Who wants to look at rice this way? And actually, if you don't finish all your rice, it actually gets all hard, right? And then it's not really edible later, okay? This looks terrible. This is offensive, right? So how you scoop up rice is actually you go to the side, all right? And then you scoop that rice, okay? Less area that's exposed, okay? And that's actually a better way of rice, okay? So that as you're getting your rice and as everybody gets their rice, all right, then the rice looks like this. And let's just say I got that much left over. Then what you do is, well, this is for tomorrow. You don't want pieces hanging around by themselves, okay? Everybody needs friends. So what we do is, hey, everybody, come together because you don't want them, because it'll dry out. There we go. Doesn't that look great for the next day? All right, so please remember, don't be rude when you scoop up your rice. Okay, I'll see you at next class. Happy eating. Oh, before we go, now, the moment of truth again. Is my dish delicious or not? Okay, now my rice is, if your rice is a little bit cold, what you want to do is put a little bit of water in that and put that in the microwave for about maybe a minute because it won't taste good to have cold rice and then a hot sauce. Ooh, okay. So put a little bit of water, 1 minute in the microwave. Now the moment of truth. Does this taste good? Let's see. Pour it on top. Okay, just put that on top. Get some sauce in there for my daddy. Okay, he loves rice. Okay, let's have him try this out. So I get a nice spoon for him to try. Daddy, can you come and taste my rice, please? Come, Daddy. Let's see what my daddy says.
Wow.
How's it taste, Daddy?
Good.
Which one do you like better, the noodles or the rice? Which one tastes better? Yeah, my dad, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have been talking to my dad with his mouth full. Oopsies, sorry, Daddy. All right, it's all in. He likes them both, but he's a rice man. He eats rice twice a day, every day for like 80 plus years, and he still loves rice. It's all good. I'll see you next week. Don't forget, eat together, spend time together. That is the best way to strengthen all families. Great. See you next time.